I'm going to share a funny story today, and the story has a few parts to it, and it involves a whole family: the daughter, the son, and the parents. Initially, I met the daughter, then the next year, I met the son. Then, a few years later, by sheer coincidence, I met the parents at a church event. And initially, the behaviours of the daughter and the son had confounded me, and I was extremely curious how they turned out the way they were. And it wasn't until I met the parents that I realised, oh my God, this is the reason that they've become the people that they are. And it's clear to see that the parents had failed these kids, and they turned out the way they had, perhaps not entirely by their own choice, but because they'd had very poor role models. And just to summarize, I met the daughter several years ago when I started working at a college as an academic tutor, and when I was moving my things in with my father, she greeted my father, and apparently, according to my father, she was telling him what a great person I was and that she admired me and blah blah blah. And my father related this to me and said, oh, she seems like a very friendly person. So that was my initial impression of her. But, my father's not the best judge of character, because he kind of takes things at face value, and he tries to see the best in people. And for people with personality disorders, that means he's someone who's easily manipulated. Because people with personality disorders can often make themselves appear very different to what they actually are. And anyways, I didn't dislike or resent the daughter. She was severely bullied at college, and there were a lot of rumours being spread around the college about her by the women in the college, and I didn't care about the rumours because it just reminded me of high school, and I thought, why is everyone acting like children? So I don't know if the rumours were true or not. And if they were, then okay, fair enough. That is consistent with her having histrionic personality disorder. But if they weren't true, then I thought maybe she simply had offended those individuals, and in retaliation they created these stories and rumours. And so it's uncertain, but I know two things for certain: that this person loved being in the centre of dramas, and she loved offending people. Anyways, I met the son the following year, and it was a very strange experience because somehow it was like he was trying to compete with me, or that he saw me as a rival, which was really weird because he had just come out of high school and I was 25. He expected people to treat him like some kind of god or prodigy because he'd done well in high school and got a scholarship. And, I was on a completely different level. I'd already done a degree in mathematics and science and got first class honours university medal, took extra subjects through those degrees and got a 90% average, and then did an internship at CERN at the Large Hadron Collider, and then got a scholarship to do a master's in theoretical physics in Canada at the Perimeter Institute, and I met Stephen Hawking there. And throughout my undergrad, I did research, paid research, got some academic papers published of original work, and I thought, why is this guy trying to compete with me? We're on completely different levels. It's really weird. And I think, in retrospect, the reason was somehow he knew that I could see through his facade, and somehow he knew that I could see that he was a bit of a fraud and extremely insecure, because I never really interacted with him, so I don't know how he knew, but somehow he did. And on one occasion, he asked me, because of my position in the college, organising the academic program and being an academic tutor there, if I had the ability to look at his grades. And I said, I do, but only if there's a legitimate reason to. So I said, for example, if you apply to be a tutor, then your grades have to be reviewed and compared to everyone else who's applied. And, usually the person with the best grades or the most experience will get the job because it needs to be a fair meritocratic system. You can't do it based on personal favourites. And somehow he twisted this information and he went and complained to the warden and said that I had been looking at his grades and telling people about them, which is completely untrue. And so I went and saw the warden and I was like, what the fuck? He asked me a question about whether I could see his grades or not, and I said yes. And I told him in what context, and now he's lied and said that I've been doing this and that I've been showing people. Like, that seems like a pretty malicious act to do. To first of all lie about someone and try to interfere with their professional career because they felt insecure. I'm like, so you need to do something about this. And the warden, he actually didn't care. He just said, oh, it's just part of the job or something like that. But he sort of swept the issue under the carpet. And I was like, fuck. This person who has narcissistic or sociopathic personality disorder, I'm not sure which one, because if you look at the DSM-5 and you read the symptoms and traits of each, he matches a lot of them in each category. So I'm not a professional, so I can't distinguish what he was, but certainly someone on the cluster B spectrum of personality disorders. And I thought, okay, so this guy is actually a pretty destructive individual. How do I make sure that this behaviour doesn't continue? Or how do I make sure that as an employee of the college and the university that I'm protected from his behaviour, his malicious behaviour? And unfortunately, the governance system within the college failed. And at the time, I didn't know that you could go to external authorities that were university-based to deal with such matters. And if I had known, I would have done that because that would have been the professional thing to do. But I was told that because it was a college matter, that the university wouldn't do anything. And of course, that was a lie, because I'm guessing the people who said that just didn't want the college to look bad, I guess. Anyways, I thought about this issue and I thought, okay, so this person has lied about me. They said that I've looked at his grades, and I've tried to confront this issue in a personal capacity with the warden and in a professional manner. And nothing's been done. I can't escalate it further. The governance system at this institution has failed its employee. What can I do? So I thought, okay, well, since I've been accused of looking at his grades, then why don't I just check them out? And so I went and looked at his grades, and I laughed, and I realized this guy who was walking around acting like he was some sort of prodigy or god was on the verge of failing all of his courses. And it turns out that when he wasn't having his hand held by high school teachers and having essays written for him and being told what to do, as an independent student at a university, he was incredibly incompetent, and that must have been an enormous blow to his self-esteem and confidence. And I'm guessing that's why he acted the way he did. And so I thought, okay, well, he's accused me of looking at his grades, and I've had a bit of a laugh because I looked at them. No punishment was made for him lying about this issue, so I may as well just do it. And then after I looked at them, I was like, okay, he also said that I showed people, so I'll show my housemates. And I did. And they thought it was extremely funny, but at the same time, I knew that they could be trusted and that were of enough integrity that they wouldn't go around spreading this information, and they didn't. So all of us had a bit of a laugh about it, and we then realized why he was acting this way and why he was the character that he was, and essentially stemming from this enormous insecurity that he had. And I guess that story has a happy ending because no one was hurt in that story, and even though the system of governance failed and the warden did nothing about the situation, I still found a creative way to find justice and resolve the situation. And yeah, it didn't have a negative impact on anyone else because, no one knew. And people might say that that was unethical or it was wrong. And my response is, you've been accused of something and someone's trying to impact your professional career. What they accused you of is false. They lied about it. And there was no consequence to that person. So since you've already wasted your time having to follow up that accusation, why not just do the thing that they said? Because then everything's fair. And that's what I did. Anyways, if you have similar situations in your own workplace, I don't recommend the solution that I did. I'd say there are always external associations or departments or whatever in that workplace structure that can handle such matters if the governance system directly above you fails. And you need to go look for them and find out what they are so that these matters can be dealt with professionally and to make sure that the behaviours of the destructive individual stop. And in the worst case scenario, if it's a person who has a narcissistic personality disorder, then you should just confront them in public and talk about their behaviour in public with that person present, because that's the best way of dealing with the narcissist. You just expose them in public, and that's what they're most afraid of. You can probably do it on social media too. And as long as you're telling the truth about this person and their actions, then it's fair. I certainly don't encourage people to make up stories or exaggerate or lie, because the best way to hurt people or make them desist from certain behaviours is just to tell the truth. You just find out things that are true about them and you share that, or you find out what their weaknesses are and then you confront them about those weaknesses. And people get far more hurt by things that are based on truth or that are truth and than they do about false stories and rumours. Rumours don't really have much effect on individuals because the individual themselves knows that the rumours are false and that they don't represent reality, so they can just go, okay, whatever. If people are stupid enough to believe that, then that's their own fault, not mine. So there has to be some kind of ethical way in which you deal with this, even if your methods are not exactly conventional. And that's my advice. And I do have other stories to share, which I will at a later date. This one is a fairly trivial example, and it's funny, so I don't feel like there's any issue sharing it. It is interesting what I found out about the parents, and I guess all of this goes back to developmental psychology. People really need to pay attention to the parenting that they provide and need to do it in a careful and responsible manner. And, it's a serious job. You can't take it lightly. If you choose to have kids, you can't just do it at a whim. You have to make sure that, one, you're equipped to do so, and two, that you have the character that's necessary to produce good children who don't have personality disorders. Otherwise, you're just creating more problems in the world, and you're giving a miserable quality of life to your children. Because ironically, the people that suffer the most from personality disorders are generally the people themselves. It's not just the people that they hurt. And especially the case of narcissists or women with borderline personality disorder. They essentially just destroy all of their relationships and connections, and they end up very lonely. So I don't resent or dislike these people. I don't have any great apathy towards them. I just feel sorry for the way that they are and that they've turned out the way they are. It's very sad, and I think if possible, if there's a way to somehow resolve things in an amicable manner and show kindness, then that should always be the way that one strives for or proceeds. You have to keep in mind that kindness doesn't always work. Some people are just so destructive or so unwell mentally that you really need to set up some firm boundaries and make sure that you retain those boundaries and that those people aren't crossing them. And sometimes that means that you have to fight in whatever way possible. But that's all I have to share, and hopefully sharing the story is useful for anyone listening to it, because maybe they've had a similar experience and maybe they've experienced behaviors in people that they didn't really understand, and maybe they'll be able to find a reason for those behaviors now.